methods and models of teaching. And first of all, let's take a look at elements of teaching effectiveness. Warburg, 1986. He used the research technique called meta-analysis. That is to say, he compiled more than 3,000 studies, and then he arrived at these models, these elements of teaching effectiveness. So it's the results here, they are based on a huge amount of data, right? So it is very trustworthy. All right. Now, so Warburg, Herbert Warburg from University of Illinois, okay, he would compound all this data here, all right? So let's take a look at all these in order of effectiveness compared to control group. Right? So that is to say, what does it mean? Let's say the use of advanced organizer. So the experimental group was given this in the classroom. The teacher gave them advanced organizer. Control group, of course, in a different classroom. Right? The control group was not given advanced organizer. Okay, so that's what here we are talking about results of controlled experiments, all right? So based on a huge amount of data. All right, now let's take a look at here, SD, standard deviation, okay? Standard deviation, of course, here, the larger it is, the further apart the two groups are, okay? So the dependent variable in all these studies is achievement scores, test scores, okay? Achievement scores. So using achievement test scores, use of advanced organizer, here the group was score 0.23 standard deviations better than the control group. So the control group was not given advanced organizer. All right, is that good? So the larger the standard deviation, the further apart the two groups are. Okay, all right, that's good. Now you may ask Peter, how large is say 0.23 standard deviation? I promised the class before that I'm not going to delve into statistics or mathematics. So you will have to trust me, okay? I could have spent 2 hours on standard deviations if you could tolerate that, okay? Anyway, so let's say half a standard deviation. Well, it really depends on whether it is near the center line or whether it is away from it. Okay, so it is hard to say. Okay, well, let me put it this way here. All the standard deviations here, 0.23, 0.34, 0.38, and so on. Okay, they they are just they're just measurements, okay? So the whole idea is that 0.23 standard deviation was, say, let's say here, use of advanced organizer means what? The control group is significantly different. No. The experimental group has achievement score significantly higher than the control group. Is that good? When you see this here, but then how high? Of course, here, this one here, this one the difference is larger than this. 0.38, the difference is larger than this, and so on. Say 0.6, the difference between the two groups, 0.6 is larger than this, larger than this, larger than this. Is that good? All right. So they are all statistically significant. I mean, the difference between the experimental group and the control group. All right, good. So let's take a look here. Use of advanced organizers. Okay, that's 0.23 standard deviation better than the control group. Okay, so here 0.34 standard deviation better than the control group, and so on. Okay, all these are positive numbers. All right, so that means what? The experimental group was better in terms of the dependent variable, which is what? Achievement test score is better than the control group. All right, so let's take a look at use of advanced organizers. So that is remember PQ4R. So use of advanced organizer is the P preview in PQ4R. So the main concepts to be covered are what announced first as the means to prepare the students psychologically what will be happening in the class. All right. So sometimes here you give a brief summary, or you give an introduction, and then you give a brief summary of what you are going to talk about. All right, so that's the use of advanced organizer. All right, the next one here, higher order questions. So here, this is the PQ4R, that is the Q in PQ4R. So it is the experimental group. The experimental group's achievement score is 0.34 standard deviation better than the control group. All right. So what is it here? So remember what PQ4R. Okay, that is what the second one, the Q question, right? So questions that call for greater intellectual work than sheer rote memory. So higher order means is not just rote memorization. You are asking students to do more intellectual work, to think about it, okay, to think about it, process it deeper, right? So that's the use of higher order questions. Okay. Now, the next one, number 3, is engaged academic learning time. So what is it here? That is to say, the actual time the teachers spent in delivering academic materials. So this time the actual time was spent in delivering, right? And also the actual time students pay attention or engage in academic learning. Now, this time, this engaged academic learning time is affected by such thing as efficiency in planning your lessons, assuming you're a teacher, and time spent in matters other than teaching. For example, calling the class to order, handling discipline problems, right? So you have to take all that into consideration. And regarding students, students may learn to put on a good face, but in fact, they are daydreaming. Right? We do that, is that right? When I was a student, I did that too. I assume you do that too, is that right? Anyway, so that's what engaged academic learning time, right? So it has two perspectives. One is from the teacher's perspective, another from the student's perspective. All right, classroom morale. 0.6 standard deviation, that's quite a bit larger than all this here. Okay, I can tell you this here. Okay, classroom morale. Now, both were laid back and authoritarian approaches are not effective. Authoritarian approach means strict discipline and tight control. Okay, laid back, okay, just what you don't care, okay, you just want to let it go, that type of thing. Okay, all right, they're not effective. But that what? So, but instead, positive classroom morale, such as feeling of cohesiveness, satisfaction, goal, direction, friendly atmosphere, all of these here are effective in producing student achievement. And then all of these here, they cut across specific techniques as a general factor producing student achievement. So you see here, morale, okay, classroom morale is so important, right? So it is a good idea, therefore, to pay attention to this aspect in the classroom situation. And cooperative learning activities, 0.76 standard deviation better than the control group. So here is to employ small group techniques in the classroom in which students are encouraged to participate in achieving cooperative objectives. So let me show you this, what I have prepared. Okay, is that good? Good. All right. So take a look at those elements of cooperative learning. So let's say here you have us in a small group situation, 3 or 4 students, okay, participating in a small group situation. So then the participation cost, in order to make it successful, you have individual responsibility. So stress that, and also cooperative skills. So how do they work together, okay, to attain that goal? Okay, so this is something the teacher could come in and help, show them how to do that. Okay, you don't call people's name and that type of thing. You know what I mean? Right? So positive interdependence. Positive interdependence. Well, you rely on other people whenever what you want, you don't know what to do, okay, but then in a positive manner, that is to say, once what you seek the what, once you seek the what, the answer, the objective, then what, you're good, okay, you're good. So it is what positive, okay, it is what positive independent. Group processing. So that is what, that is to say what, it is like a group-centered, what, a group-centered approach, okay? But then everyone participates. Face-to-face interactions, all right? A small group, yes, 3 or 4 students sitting together. There's a face-to-face interaction, okay? So when there is face-to-face interaction, okay, here it kind of in most of the time it promotes what collaborative skills, all right? So it is what a group-centered approach, is a group-centered approach, all right? So a lot of times small group one, in a small group situation, cooperative learning is what quite successful. You could see that it is what 0.76 standard deviation, is that right? So that is what pretty effective. All right, so let's take a look at cues and feedback. Wow, 0.97 standard deviation. 0.97 is very large, okay? I can tell you that it is very large. All right, so the use of cues and feedback is to some extent related to the process of questioning. All right. So what I do here is to provide some help in student answers. Say you give them what cues and feedback once the teacher asked a question, and to provide what wait time for the student to think about the question and to provide constructive feedback. All right, so let me show you another one. Hold on. All right. Oop. Good. All right. So see here, wait times associated with questioning. So teacher asked a question, all right? So the teacher should wait no more than 3 seconds. No more than 3 seconds. You let them let the student think about the question and try to answer. Then hands are raised. Remember Hermione, Harry Potter? Anyway, so the student is acknowledged and the student answers, okay, at this time. Then after the answer, the teacher should wait approximately about 3 seconds. Why? For the class to ponder the answer before the teacher reacts to the student's answer. Is it good? All right. So that is what that is the way to do cues and feedback and to do questioning and answering. All right. So most of the time you remember it is about 3 seconds, no more than 3 seconds. All right. So now to provide constructive here, to provide constructive feedback. Of course, here in a classroom situation, this is given verbally. But then in assignments, written comments on assignments should be considered constructive feedback, and most students will like what to see this, right? Like to see comments on their assignments, right? All right, take a look at number 7, the last one, the most effective use of positive reinforcement. 1.17 standard deviation better than the control group. The control group receives no positive reinforcement, right? Now, so both verbal and non-verbal work extremely well, right? For example, praise, okay? But however, indiscriminate praise doesn't work, okay? It doesn't work. So let's say the effect of praise is students with lower class or working class backgrounds, praise for these students are much more effective than praise for students with middle class background. All right, because for this group of students, their parents are used to lavish praises. All right, so Warburg research is extensive. Okay, it is extensive. All right, so it is a good idea to know all of this, to know all of this here now. So let us go back and take a look at each one of them. Use of advanced organizer. So here, the use of advanced organizer is to try to lay the groundwork for the coming lesson. And also here, you by doing this here, you steer the students towards the learning materials. Is that right? So you by doing this here, you give clear directions to the student. All right. So doing this here, you are providing you're providing inference. You're trying to influence the students. You steer the students to the objective, okay, or to the content to be discussed. So you're giving them indirect influences. Is that right? You're giving them direction. Is that right? You're giving them direction. You're lecturing. Okay, you give directions and you are lecturing. Okay, higher order question. So you ask question, and of course here you wait for the students to answer. Is that right? So in a way, you try to accept students answer and build on students' ideas if the answer is not quite right, but you could build on it. Is that right? So that is what you are trying to you're trying to help the student to learn indirectly. All right, by asking high order question and then comment on the answers. All right, engage academic learning time here. This is like lecturing. All right, so this is important. All right, so there is the aspect here, actual time teachers spend that lecturing. Is that right? That lecturing. The time students pay attention or engage in academic learning. So here the teachers should be watchful and then of course try to give clear directions. Okay, to give clear direction is that once a student is falling asleep, you knock on the table. Is that right? Something like that, right? Classroom morale here. Here's a look at all this here, right? So the teacher would accept feeling, okay, accept feeling, and then what accept ideas to promote what positive morale, and also teacher will try to praise the class. That is what accentuate the positive. Is that right? So in order to boost positive classroom morale, right? Okay, cooperative learning here. So the students in a small group setting, they try to generate ideas, okay? Try to generate ideas, try to learn, okay? Try to learn on their own here. So the teacher at this stage here, the teacher will have to the influence is kind of indirect from the teacher. Okay, of course, the teacher should move around from table to table to give clear directions, okay, whenever possible. Cues and feedback. So here, cues and feedback here. Remember the wait time here. You accept, teacher accepts and builds on student ideas. All right, and of course here, ask questions, and then and the wait, okay, wait for the students. Okay, you don't just ask a question and then answer. Come on. No, you give them time to think about it. Okay, and then and after an answer is given by the student, you let the class ponder the answer for about 3 seconds, okay, before you provide feedback. All right, so that is to accept and build on student ideas. Okay, now, so use of positive reinforcement here, that you want positive reinforcement, you encourage students, all right? So here, you actually accentuate the positive, okay? Accentuate the positive is always effective, right? That is good, because most of the time in a classroom situation, teachers like to correct mistakes, like to order, just stop this, stop that, do this, do that. Okay? But then whenever the teacher, let's say you're the teacher, whenever you see something positive, you should point it out and praise, okay? Praise or give positive reinforcement, right? So in doing this here, you accentuate the positive, okay? And students love this, okay? They love this, right? Good. So that's one elements of teaching effectiveness. Thank you.